But he, meaning Elijah himself, went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a solitary broom tree. He asked that he might die. "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my ancestors." Then he lay down under the broom tree and fell asleep. Suddenly, an angel touched him and said to him, "Get up and eat." He looked, and there at his head was a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. He ate and drank and lay down again. The angel of the Lord came a second time, touched him, and said, "Get up and eat, otherwise the journey will be too much for you." He got up and ate and drank. Then he went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the Mount of God. This is the word of the Lord. I love this passage, not just because it's short either. I love that Elijah is so human in this passage. I mean, really, in the scope of his prophetic career, he should be at the top of his game. In 1 Kings chapter 18, the chapter just prior to this one that we read from, Elijah destroyed all of the priests of Baal, all 450 of them. He put on full display that his God was more powerful than any other god. He won. He conquered. He was victorious. He should have been celebrating. He should have been making toasts and enjoying being a hero. He should have been basking in his newfound glory. But he's not. After all is said and done, he's horrified at his own behavior, saying, "For I am no better than my ancestors." And the weight of what he has done, the lives he has taken, they're too heavy for him to bear. Not only that, but the queen, Jezebel, is out for revenge, and he has just received a message from one of her messengers that she will search the ends of the earth until she finds him and kills him. So here Elijah feels guilt, remorse, fear, exhaustion. He lays down in the wilderness under the solitary broom tree saying, "Enough. Take away my life, O Lord." Now, about this point, you might be asking yourself, why does Katy love this passage? This is pretty depressing. And it is pretty depressing, but then something beautiful happens. Suddenly, an angel touches him and wakes him up to eat. I love that when he thinks that he has done so much that he can never be forgiven, that he can never be redeemed, that an angel visits him. I love that the angel touches him. She's not afraid of him, not intimidated by him, but responds to him with compassion and grace. I love that she lets him sleep, waking him only when the cake is ready for him to eat. I love that when she wakes him, he can probably smell that cake cooking on the hot stones right there beside his head, and wondered, who's here? I thought I was all alone. I love that when Elijah was at the end of his rope and thinks that he is more alone than he has ever been in his entire life, that it turns out he's not alone at all, but there is an angel there with him, making him cake. I love that the angel makes him cake. Not the bare minimum, not some mush mixed with water or some gathered leaves he has to swallow and choke down, but cake. She makes him cake. I want an angel that makes me cake, or maybe pie. I love that she's patient, not forcing him to finish it all. Not ever does she say, you have to clean your plate, or you didn't eat enough, or you can't leave the table until you've finished your meal. I love that she lets him grieve and go back to sleep. And when she wakes him up a second time, it's not with a start or a shout or a yell. It's not to shame him or give him tough love and tell him enough is enough. It's time for him to quit feeling sorry for himself and get over it. Get on with it. Move on. No, the second time she wakes him is just as gentle as the first time. She touched him. She took the time. She made that connection, a personal connection, a real connection, one he could sense, one he could smell and taste and feel. And she didn't tell him any white lies that would supposedly make him feel better. She didn't tell him, don't worry. She didn't tell him he was going to be okay. She didn't say, it's all going to work out. Or even, just give it some time. You'll be okay, you'll see. She told him the truth. Get up. Otherwise, this journey is going to be too much for you if you don't eat something. See, life is not easy, and we all need sustenance. The journey continues, sometimes even when we're not sure that we want it to, and we need energy for the journey. We cannot make the journey on our own, so there are angels who make cake. Manna awaits. Bread from heaven is prepared. The angel of the Lord feeds Elijah cake, bread for the journey. In our reading from the Gospel of John this morning, Jesus compares himself to manna. And I suppose we could say that manna was the original journeying bread. Manna sustained the Israelites on their journey through the wilderness, just as the angel's cake will sustain Elijah on his journey through the wilderness. And so Jesus desires to be our journeying bread for each and every road on which we find ourselves traveling. Every wilderness wandering, every long haul, every scary back road, every desolate highway, every crowded freeway, every path to happiness. Jesus wants to sustain us, to be our bread for the journey, not in some distant, magical spell kind of way, but in a very real way, a way that we can sense, a way that we can smell and taste and touch, in a way that meets us always exactly where we happen to be. Now you may be thinking, Katy, that all sounds nice and good and very spiritual and ethereal. But Elijah had an angel who made him cake. And it's hard to feel all of those things when I don't see an angel. And I can guarantee you an angel has never made me cake. And I sure as heck haven't ever been touched by an angel. To which I would say, oh, but maybe you have. See, 1 Kings was written in Hebrew, and in Hebrew, the word for angel is the same word as messenger. In fact, this word is translated many other places in the Bible, including earlier in this chapter, in verse 2, as messenger. My gut tells me the biblical editors translated it as angel here because when the messenger awakes Elijah the second time, she is called a messenger of the Lord. But I love thinking of this angel as a messenger because that means this angel can be anyone. This angel can be one of the women who flooded my grandmother's house with casseroles and pies when we stayed there after my grandmother died. This angel can be the middle-aged man that brought my husband's family and Wayne and I dinner and picked up our dirty clothes and washed them for us when we spent days not leaving the hospital, wondering if Wayne's father would ever be able to leave with us. She can be the women who fed my family when I traveled to Kenya a couple of years ago, or the people who welcomed me into their homes while I was there and fed me chapati and ugali. The messenger can be me, or you, or anyone, at any time, on any road, just someone who dares to touch us, or make us cake, or help sustain us by giving us bread for the journey. Amen.